Hello, this is a thematic playthrough of Life and Legend. I uh, said I would make a video kind of going through and explaining the theme of the game a couple weeks ago, and I'm finally just now getting around to it. So I apologize for the delay. Um, just just so we know, the game is set up, the legend deck has been shuffled, life deck shuffled, then 4 legend cards here make up the worlds, drawn from the top of the deck. So, this is completely unscripted. I have no idea what cards I'm going to draw or what's going to happen, and I'm just going to do sort of an improvisational kind of playthrough where I try to show what might be going on behind the eyes of the adventurer throughout their life. So, and that would probably bring me to the first thing. The game is abstract in the sense that there's not really a way to completely account for every single thing that's going to be happening in this fictional adventurer's life, but it's just kind of a broad overview of things that might take place throughout the course of their life, and each turn, um, is roughly supposed to represent around 5 years, maybe. So digging here into the theme. So to start out, you draw 4 cards. I'm just going to play a few turns here just to give a little bit of an idea. So I would say that thematically, your hand, which is what this is, represents your mind, or the uh, the soul of the adventurer. So let me lay these out. And I'm not sure how well you can see everything here, but 2 relics and 2 events. So these are abstractly or thematically. These would be things that are that you can bring about into the world by by your intellect or your different abilities. So, all right. So the game is played over a series of phases. Each turn is in a series of phases, and the first phase is a contemplation phase. So we'll say here, so the adventure is just starting out. This would be toddler, birth to 4 or 5 years old, 3 years old, however long, and say, okay. So the first thing, well, I should say probably before that, you can lay out. Excuse me, I keep nudging the camera here. You can lay out relics before the game starts. So I'll go ahead and do that. And I'll lay down worn journal. So what this would represent in laying this card out and having this card in play is that your adventurer, your legendary figure, values the idea of keeping a record of their life. So the Warren Journal could be anything. I mean, it could be an actual diary. It could be possibly some kind of. I mean, depending on the game is setting neutral, so it could be a video camera. It could be anything. Possibly it's some kind of artistic endeavor like a drawing a day or something of that nature. Anyway, that's what the Warren Journal represents is this idea to the adventurer that keeping a record of things that happen throughout the course of their life is an important thing to them. So that's what they have. This has the life word hide, and it's worth uh, 2 legends, and it would have the life word hide because you're hiding this information. You're keeping this information. You're treasuring it. So anyway, so now we move on to phase 1, which is the contemplation phase. I'm not going to lay out any additional relics at this moment. So then we'll move on to phase 2, which is the world phase. And during the world phase, you can do one of 4 world actions. You can either uncover a card, wander in the world, attempt an uncovered adventure, or draw a card from the legend deck. Now, the legend deck and the life deck are abstract representations of things that you'll encounter throughout the course of your life. And look at these cards all messed up here. And the world is, of course, an abstract representation of the world that you're going to be visiting and interacting with. So, all right, let's go ahead and, like I said, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen. So I'm going to, for my world action, I'm going to attempt to wander. And I'm going to do this by discarding a card. Now, discarding an event card. Now, what this might represent is this is the thing or the experience that you encountered while you were wandering, or or some event that might have spurred you on to wander. So I'll do that. I'll successfully wander and take the legend card here as the completed wander, and then for to fill the empty world space, I'll go ahead and lay out this event, Starry Nights. And Starry Nights is this sort of this is an ambient, or I'm sorry, atmosphere effect, atmosphere event with an ambient effect, and it would be this, as it says, Starry Nights, the sort of idea of a starry night full of possibilities. That's kind of the general mood of the world. Is a contemplative, mindful state, maybe. So +1 to hand size. That was kind of the reasoning behind it. So anyway, so we'll go ahead and go through the world phase here. We'll move on to the life phase, which is phase 3. I don't have anything to create a life story. Move into phase 4, which is resolution. Nothing going on there. So then I'll go ahead and move back to turn 2. So, start of turn 2, it's a contemplation phase. Do I want to lay down this relic? No. And okay, so now thematically, we're entering into the second stage of life. So now this adventure has gone out into the world and done a few things. This adventurous wanderings, they've seen a few things in life. Now maybe they're just a little bit older. They're into their early adolescence or late childhood. And now, what do they do? Well, uh, perhaps they're studying. Perhaps they've decided to to stay close to home, and they draw a card, which would go to their hand. This is a relic, a most curious tale. So this would mean that their most curious tale could thematically represent some strange story or idea that could have come to them, and they're kind of chewing on in their mind. So we'll go ahead and skip phase 3, and we'll go to phase 4 and nothing. So now we're going to enter into turn 3. So now, all right, we're talking, maybe this is early adolescence at this point, 12, 15 years old. What are they going to do now? Well, let's go ahead and start on phase 1. They've been holding on to this completed wander for long enough, and they're going to turn it in and see what they may have learned in their wandering, and that's what drawing from the life deck represents. So I have no idea what this will be, and it is a trauma, apathy. They have sort of taken from their early journeys throughout the world to be apathetic to maybe the world wasn't as exciting as they had thought it might be, but regardless, they have this sort of apathetic idea about life, and apathy gives a negative 1 to life achievements, which basically means you can't have a life achievement. So anyway, that was phase 1. So we move to phase 2, which is the world phase. So what are we going to do now? I think we will attempt to uncover. Well, we will uncover a card here. So, all right. So we've uncovered explore ruins. So this is an adventure. This could mean many different things. So let's just take a look at it. This could be um, maybe maybe it's an abandoned building. Maybe it's cyclopean ruins deep in the desert. Uh, who knows? It's the idea is very abstract, but in the world there is this available to attempt. So I can't remember if I think we're on turn 3, so we're still in the adolescent stage. So then we'll go ahead and go through the rest of this turn. We'll jump to turn 4, which would probably be young adulthood, late adolescence at this point, and we'll see what does our bold young adventurer decide to do at this point. So I think he may attempt to explore these ruins. Um, and he'll do this by rolling the die. He'll take the fate challenge. So go ahead and see. So got the first 4 and a 1. That means failed the adventure. Now, of course, fate challenges are kind of difficult to accomplish, but just trying that for the fun of it, basically. And there's no penalty for this adventure, so that's basically just over. So he went to explore these ruins. He or she um, went to explore these ruins and didn't find anything, didn't successfully accomplish the task. So that was what marked this stage of their life. So now we'll go ahead and finish through the phases. Now we'll go back up to turn 5, and we'll say early 20s, mid 20s, maybe at this point. So what's the adventurer going to do now? Not really sure. I guess he will. Maybe he's disillusioned because of this, and he decides to just go see what the world has to offer and wander. So, and he fails. So things aren't looking too good for him at this point. So now we're moving on. We're going to go ahead and just skip this turn and the rest of this turn. So there's not really anything to do. So now he will probably be in his mid to late 20s at this point, and decides that maybe it would be a good idea to just stay at home and draw another card. So he drew an adventure. That essentially ends his turn. So now we're moving into what could be like maybe the cusp of the 30s here, and thematically he has this burning sense of, of of something relating to this adventure in his heart, that he's this sort of vague sense of purpose to do something about this, since this is in his mind. But let's go ahead and uncover another card. Early 30s. Okay, this is an event. It's uncovered in the world. Remove this card. All players must uncover completed wonder they possess. Right, he doesn't have any, so that essentially this idea of all the roads being watched doesn't have any effect on him. So for whatever reason, let's say that he takes this opportunity to lay this down. Um, and it doesn't really benefit him to lay this down, but just for the fun of it, he will. So now we're moving into the mid 30s of the adventurer, and what they're experiencing in the world and through life. And we'll go ahead and move on to the world phase here. I think this is turn 6. So, mass exodus. All right. Now, this is interesting. This is sort of an abstract idea that there's change, there's movement going on in the world, and so all of these adventures are covered, and players may wander an additional time each turn. So when it moves back down to turn 6, which this would be, the character would now be in his mid-30s at this point, maybe late 30s. He comes back over to the world phase, and he this air of movement, of change, of leaving um, what was happening before is affecting the world. So he's going to take advantage of this and attempt to wander. He fails. Let's see if I can get another good die roll here. Great. Okay, so success. You can go ahead and fill this in here, and turn it in and see what we draw. Hopefully, it's not another trauma, and it is. So far, this character is apathetic and antipathetic, which really means that he's a hateful person. So he's apathetic and kind of bitter, and who knows what it is that he's upset about in life. I'm not sure, but this is his life. This is a simulation of his life and what he's experienced. So he's a bitter man in his mid to late 30s. So with apathy, with no real designs for the future. So let's go ahead and skip to the next turn. So here, as he enters his 40s, we'll see how things might be a little bit different for him. He's going to attempt to wander again because of this spirit of mass exodus being upon the world. Fails the first time, he can wander again. So he'll try to, and success. All right. Now let's see. Go ahead and turn this in. What are the odds that worse things have happened to him throughout the course of his life? Let's find out. No, he has gained, in spite of his bitterness and unconcern, or whatever you want to call it, for life. He's found some type of inspiration. Uh, maybe maybe uh, maybe he's growing. So anyway, now he's in his early to mid 40s at this point. He's going to come back around and come to the world phase again, and he'll go ahead and continue to take advantage of mass exodus. So that's a successful wander. We'll try again. And that one doesn't succeed. Mass exodus is a great card for wandering when that comes into play. Anyway, we'll now also bear in mind that normally a game like this will be played with other people and other things will be going on. It won't just be his decisions and actions to determining what happens, but just for fun, thematic playthrough, right? So we'll turn this in. And let's say just maybe the exploring the ruins had some sort of special place in this guy's heart. So he's going to go ahead and use Warren Journal to attach Explore Ruins to this, just for the fun of it. But anyway, let's see. Can it be charisma? So, now in spite of his disabilities here, his traumas, he's a charismatic person and also a bit inspired in spite of these things, in spite of the traumatic experiences that he's experienced. So anyway, this is just to give an idea of how thematically what might be going on. Obviously, this was not a normal game, and probably whoever was playing this guy, me in this case, wasn't probably making the best decisions, the most strategic decisions. But anyway, this is just to give an idea of of what might be going on behind the eyes of the wanderer. And I hope that maybe this clarified a few things. I would have liked to have gotten into a background, maybe achieved enough life words and to to create a background, maybe been a little bit more successful on the rolling. But yeah,